Collective Chat. And we are here to help you unleash your creativity, find your passion and desire of the person that you are here to be. A little bit better. And you make my life a little bit better. And you make my life a little bit better. Be yourself. Be yourself, Lee. Be yourself. Welcome to the Collective Chat. Tell us your name.
My name is Mike Kincaid.
I'm Bonnie.
Hi Bonnie, hi Mike. Thank you for coming. It's been interesting because this topic is very touchy for a lot of people, but it's about relationships. So how are you two related, or how are you together?
We're together?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we're domestic partners.
Okay, all right. How long have you been together?
5 years?
Yeah.
5 years.
5 years. And how did you meet?
We met through a mutual friend. We both worked in community type settings. And God, about 7 years ago?
2008.
Okay, she's better with dates. A mutual friend brought her to an event that I was at, and we immediately, there was an immediate instant.
Did they talk about her? Did they talk her up, or?
No, I didn't even know she existed until she showed up.
So who made the first move?
Defined move.
Who?
I don't know, I never noticed you. I mean, we were just friends.
We were just hanging out.
It was just associates.
And so at some point there was somewhat of a,
Well,
Yeah, it was. It was in April of 2009. We were at that
Wow,
gym.
you're
Remember
good.
that day?
I love it.
It was cold, and I was going through life changes, and we were sharing a table, and we just started talking, and it just became so comfortable. It just fell into step of just being a friend, being a comfort, being a support. And that was really how it is, and that's how it started. And it never developed anything more than just a friendship. Really, so nothing ever came out of it, and it was just going along. And then I was like, wait, I like that too. and I was like, wait, I've been there also.
So you had things in common.
And then, wait, your brother's buried here, but we've been buried here. We've been crossing paths our whole lives.
our whole lives.
Isn't that interesting?
So it was funny that way.
At one point, she was doing I think an internship in a building.
No, I was meeting a client. So part of what I was doing at the time, I was meeting a client, and Mike wanted to come hang out with me. I was like, okay, fine, come on, let's go.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and that was the day she
That
says,
one.
it's going to get really freaky.
Because she told me the name of the client, who was a high school friend of mine.
Oh, so there it was. It was almost like the universe was trying so desperately to get you two together.
Yeah.
You see how all the little kind of
I think throughout our lives, the universe has been kind of like throwing us into certain areas that we circled, but we never came close to.
I got to share this. You, back in the day when you were on Clarendon Street,
Yeah, so I used to work in Clarendon Street.
at an agency where I was on the board of directors at the agency right above her,
in the same building.
in the same
In
building.
the same building. And how many years ago was that?
But that was like, 20,
That was like
30,
20,
30
yeah.
years ago. I mean, it was
So
so long ago.
you were always in the same space.
Yeah.
And kind of just leading parallel lives.
Yeah.
And at some point, that you got slammed into each other.
you go.
It was finally that moment. Do you think that having a friendship or knowing each other ahead of time before you decide to have a domestic relationship together, do you think that made it easier? Or maybe just to trust each other?
No, I think we became each other's sounding board, support system. And it wasn't from that something developed a little bit more. Because, we've have experienced life, and we each were with people that we want to mold into, and listening to your conversation about falling in love and being afraid, I think my advice to my children is this: don't try to change that person. If you cannot make that person, if that person's not who you want to be when you're together,
When you meet them.
then it's not going to work. Because if you cannot accept them, if you cannot compromise, because you were talking about communication and how do you make relationships last for 60 years. It's about compromise. And in my line of work, I'm meeting a lot of couples that are older, in their 70s and 80s, and they talk about, oh, we were married for 50 years and we've been married for 60 years. And
you don't hear about that now.
No, it's very, very rare. And as much as they always try to think it's a loving relationship at that point, there's a lot of trials and tribulations to get to that point. Marriage and love is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And there's going to be times where
I agree with
the
that.
chemistry gets you together, but chemistry only lasts for so long, and then you have to rely on other things to get you to get to that point. So,
do you feel that the relationships you had in the past have helped you as the person that you are today to come together so easily, or even just being aware and being able to be brought together?
I knew what I wanted in a relationship. I was Cinderella. I was going to wait for my knight in shining armor to come and scoop me up, and that was the person I was going to be for the rest of my life. And even though it wasn't ideal, he wasn't the ideal man, I was going to make him into the person that I wanted.
So when did you realize that you couldn't do that?
Well, after 20 years of marriage. And I realized after 2 kids that, okay, well, I've built it, and I'm just going to last long enough to get the kids out on their own before, finding someone else. And that's when my situation changed, as far as, realizing that it was time to move on.
Were you getting lost as far as who you were in the marriage? Were you losing your self-identity as far as what you wanted and what you believed?
I was a daughter. I'm a daughter, a caregiver, a mother of 2 young children, and at the time, the husband, which was like my first child. So I was never sensual. I was never a woman. I was just someone that took care of people.
Do.
So yeah, in that sense, yeah, I did lose myself. So in those times when I was trying to find myself, I was going to get through this, because I always say everything in life is temporary.
Yeah, she does.
So it's going to change, and something happened, and I met the guy, and I met a person that was the catalyst to, hey, if you want to talk, he's kind of been through life also, and we just started talking, and that was just how it started. Anything other than a friendship really started, and that's really kind of weird. We talk about it. I don't think I would have liked him when he was.
She wouldn't have liked me when I was.
I wouldn't have liked him.
And why is that? You were different.
When in my youth, I was promiscuous. And
you were free.
I was free.
You were free.
But I have to share this. As a young man growing up, I had my ideal woman in my mind that I was looking for. And on that route of looking for her, I had compromised a lot of ways. A lot of ways.
Like?
In relationships.
You settled.
I settled. Similarities, it's like, okay, this can work. And so I stopped looking for that ideal woman. And then one day, this is as corny as it gets, when I found her, I told her I had stopped looking for her a long time ago because I didn't think she existed. And that was kind of that, you get that moment where you realize, there are still times I wake up and I look at this woman and I think this has got to be one long freaking dream. The thing is that we talk it out.
When something's not.
No matter how ugly. We've had many conversations that have started out with, I really don't want to have this conversation, but we have to have this conversation. And at the end of the conversation, I'm big enough to admit when I'm wrong. But we have to have that conversation to get there. And once we get there, one of the things that I love about this woman is no matter how much we may disagree, because she'll tell you she never gets mad. I don't believe that, but at the end of the evening when we're in bed, we still cuddle. We still curl up. Which never ceases to amaze me, because I've done some pretty dumb stuff in my time together, and I would expect her to go, the couch is that way. But,
So what is your definition of love?
I'm gonna pitch that to her, because I can't answer that question.
True love, like Princess Bride, true love,
Just
is one in a million. It's like hitting the Powerball. Not everyone can get it. Love is just loving the person who you're with at the moment, and at some point we outgrow our love, and that's okay. I mean, I believe that we are souls that inhabit bodies, and then in points of our lives when we need each other is when we come together, and when we grow into the point where, okay, it's okay for us to go our separate ways. It's all right, because then it's time to find other people. So as much as we would love to have that one person to spend with the rest of our lives, we may not be meant to be that way, because I don't know, we've become these people, we're comfortable with who we are right now. So because of that, we're at a different stage in our lives, that we're able to accept what we have and know that this is going to be it, because this is how we feel together right now. Mm-hmm. I hope that it lasts forever, but who knows what life brings us, and that's okay.
And that's hard for people to say that's okay, because they try to make it work, or I should say they try to put their partner in this hole where they need to be, and they can't grow. But as you learn throughout your life, you become a different person with each decade, with each year, with each experience. So how do you expect that same person that you're in a relationship, if they're growing and you're growing, to be able to come together so that you're all on the same page?
But you know what? You want everybody in your relationship to grow. If you stay in the same place, you become stagnant. And we all have dreams, desires, and whatever. And the cool thing is that if you've got somebody who's with you going toward in the same direction, you'll get there. One way or the other, you'll get there. But if you're with somebody who is comfortable, we went to go see a play called The Last 5 Years, and there's a line in it that I love, that I love it, which is a husband and a wife have come to a crossroads where they're having issues, and he looks at her and says, I refuse to lose because you can't win. And when you're in a relationship where you're trying to win and your partner has no clue why to win, forget how to win, it's soul sucking. That's the easiest way to describe it. But when you're in a relationship where you're both trying to win, you're both working toward the same goal, and that goal is, as corny as it may sound, happily ever after, you'll get there. But you also realize that, forever isn't always, and always isn't forever. So you'll get there. But as far as the question about love, because I love this woman, I would die for this woman, but I could not describe to you how that feels.
That's perfect. That tells it all. I think that with each generation, we hope that it's supposed to get better. But at this time, with social media, there's been such a miscommunication, and how there is a real quick, oh, it's not working, let's toss that one aside, where it's a person that you're tossing aside, and you're not giving a relationship a chance, because most of the time it's on a text message where things are miscommunicated, or they're meeting each other on a dating app and not even looking up at the person if they're having dinner to have a conversation, because they're so used to scrolling through and checking everybody else's life that seems so much better than what's going on in the present moment.
I'm gonna probably get us in trouble. When we're out, we laugh at those people. we like to people watch, and we literally think it's hilarious seeing two people sitting in a restaurant at a table, both of them. I sometimes wonder, are they texting each other? Because they're not talking to each other. And to me, that's got to be the ultimate insult, to be out to dinner with you where I'm supposed to be sharing time with you.
But that's their reality because that's their norm.
And
so how do we as a group tell the next generation, what advice would you give to be able to share with children, nieces, nephews, the people that are younger, to say, how are we going to make it so society is a little bit better, that we spread a little bit more love, that we actually communicate and look at each other and talk to each other? How do we pass that along so that it doesn't get worse, where we're not even in the same room and we're, having conversation?
I work with a lot of seniors. And it never ceases to amaze me, and this is a bad analogy, but I'm going to use it, where they will give up an apartment that they have because they still think they can find an apartment for $200 a month looking in a newspaper. Because that's what they did the last time they rented an apartment 30 years ago, and where housing was abundant and no problem. For me, the answer to your question, and finding a relationship that works. I don't care. Yeah, back in our day, we didn't have to have social media. But you think about, we didn't have social media. But you think about where and how you met people. And it goes all the way back to the beginning of this conversation. We met through a mutual friend at a social set, at an event, at a plain old-fashioned, the way people have been doing it for millions of years. That's how I think, you can. I always find it interesting when I have friends who are talking about, I'm going to meet this girl or this guy that I met, online, and we've been texting, for a month or whatever. And
well, don't knock it. I mean, it does
I'm not knocking
work. It does work.
But one of our favorite shows is that show called Catfish. Come on now. How can you say you're in love with somebody who you've been communicating with for 2 years, who you never even met?
Never even met.
Come on now. There may be an infatuation and a curiosity of what the hell do they really look like. But
well, I think it comes down to self-esteem to the person. I mean, if that person's putting you off and saying, "Oh, my camera's not working,"
1,200 excuses.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, at some point, you would have to say, if you had self-esteem, that
It's your worth. It's knowing your self-worth.
Right. That maybe this is not going to work.
So, do you think that that's the hardest thing about maybe this next generation, is that they don't know their self-worth? They don't know that they're worth it.
That's not new. I mean, back in my day, you had people with low self-esteem. It wasn't uncommon. The hardest thing about meeting somebody is meeting somebody. And I don't care if you're doing it online or if you're doing it in a social setting or if you're doing it in a bar or wherever it is. All of a sudden you're back in middle school and it's the first dance and you got to walk across that gym and ask her for that dance. And you know damn well if she says no, everybody in the gym saw it happen. And no matter what you try, no matter how bad you want to look when you walk back, everybody in the gym knows you just crashed and burned. It's the same thing in a bar. It's the same. It's the same thing at work. Never date someone you work with.
That's how I met my husband.
Congratulations, you are rare.
But we communicated. We were able to talk to each other because we saw each other every day.
Actually, that's my oldest son. That's where he met his wife. And then they had to sign a thing saying, okay, yeah, we're dating, but the point though is that dating is scary. Relationships are scary. Putting your demons on the table are scary. And so my answer to your question is, how do we do it with today's social media? The same way it's always been done. Because eventually you're going to have to meet that person in real life. And you asked me about in my youth, and I said she wouldn't have liked me in my youth because I didn't believe in I'm not going to waste my time with you if I think that this is not going to be worth my time. That hasn't changed. Whether I met you at a bar or whether I met you on Craigslist, it hasn't changed. You get 15 minutes, and if you're not what I thought you were going to be, this has been fun.
See you later.
See you later. The thing I love about today's generation is about people who break up through text messaging. I think that is, where was that one? I don't know.
Do you have any other advice that you'd like to share with our audience about love, romance, dating?
Really, just to reiterate, don't lose yourself.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And I'm going to piggyback on what she said. You can't make people into what you want them to be, because that's not what people do. People are who they are. And no matter how much you try to make them into what you want them to be, they are who they are. And you have two choices. You can compromise, or you can hopefully say this isn't going to happen and move on. But I'd still go back to what I said earlier. I mean, never give up looking, because the dream is there. You just have to find it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been our pleasure. Thank you.